In the words of Jason Mraz, an American singer and songwriter, if we truly want to have world peace, we have to end human trafficking. Human trafficking is modern-day slavery indeed. I'm glad to have you join us on NAPTIP On The Move. I'm Angela Adwegi. Human trafficking is our focus today. What drives this heinous crime, you may ask? All this and more if you stay with NAPTIP On The Move.
Human trafficking is a global crime, the third largest crime industry in the world, a gross violation of fundamental human rights with severe consequences on the victim. Why then does this crime thrive?
People often ask what the causes of human trafficking are and what actually drives human trafficking, and these are questions that I get all the time from members of the public. Basically, human trafficking is driven by demand and supply. So there's a demand for it, for a demand for forced labor, there's a demand for sexual exploitation, there's a demand for domestic servitude, and there's also an equal supply for that. Then another cause of human trafficking is poverty. So when people are impoverished, they find themselves in a very vulnerable situation that traffickers often take advantage of. And when we talk about trafficking in persons, it is a crime that is clandestine. So it is a crime that, offers up high profit with less risk of being detected. So people tend to go that way because they know there is room to profit over and over and over again from a victim. Then when we talk about, of course, major drivers, we know that the underlying cause of human trafficking and, of course, smuggling of migrants is the poor economic situation of people, especially young people. Poor economic situation, inadequate educational opportunities. These are factors that drive it. And we know that as individuals, everyone has a dream. So traffickers tend to pry on people's dream. So if your dream is to give your family a better life, it will be easy for a trafficker to sell you the dream of, going into another country and making money. So they pry on our dream. They pry on, what we desire for ourselves in life. Then, of course, ignorance on the part of family and children. When people come to you and say, oh, I have a job for your child, immediately you jump on the bandwagon. And most times people do that because of their economic situation and the need to have additional income for family. So because of that ignorance, so traffickers capitalize on that ignorance on the part of families and also on the part of children. So we also have lack of contentment and greed. Once you are not a content person, you always have a desire for more and more and more. And when somebody comes to sell you a perfect dream, or tells you, oh, you know, I can make your life better, and you have this insatiable desire for greener pastures, then you make yourself very easy to be catfished.
Human trafficking and smuggling of migrants are two related but distinct crimes.
When we talk about trafficking in persons and smuggling of migrants, these are all elements of forced migration. So you have a trafficked person who is who is trafficked against their own, you know, will. Of course, you promise them something, and the plan of the trafficker is something else, and they get exploited along the way. Then you also have victims of smuggling of migrants. These are another category of persons who actively seek out smugglers and pay them, and, you know, enter into a contract with them to take them to a country where they're neither nationals or citizens. So when we talk about trafficking in persons, we talk about smuggling of migrants. These are all elements of forced migrations, and you can't really have one without the other. It's a thin line between the two, because you have instances of people who start off as smuggled migrants, but along the way they get exploited.
What then is human trafficking?
Human trafficking is the recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring, receipt of any person through the means of fraud or by force or deception or abuse of power for the singular purpose of being exploited. So you see, the definition of human trafficking has already identified the fact that trafficking in persons is an entire value chain. So you have people that recruit. Those are the people that seek out vulnerable people. Then you have people that transport. Their own job is to transport them. Then you have people that transfer. When they transport, they now transfer to somebody else. Then you have people that harbor them. Then you have those that now receive these victims. Now, just to put human trafficking in perspective, research tells us that human trafficking is a $150 billion global industry, and human trafficking is second in transnational organized crime. And 2/3 of these $150 billion is actually made from sexual exploitation of women. And the same research also tells us that an average woman involved in sexual exploitation makes an average of $100,000 a year. You know, you and I can question that kind of statistics to say, how can a woman, you know, make that much just from sexual exploitation? But yeah, but it happens with the kind of petitions, with the kind of cases that comes through NAPTIP. It is a big possibility. And of course, human trafficking is something that happens behind closed doors. It's something that happens on the ground, which is why it is difficult to detect. It is difficult, and it's something that people don't really talk about.
Victims of human trafficking experience physical and psychological abuse, which leads to post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, anxiety, substance abuse, and even suicide or death. In its fight against human trafficking, NAPTIP collaborates with all stakeholders, national, regional, and international organizations, including the Embassy of Switzerland.
It's a huge problem. It's very big, it's very complex. It does not only affect Nigeria, but it also affects us. It affects Nigerians in Switzerland, it affects other people in Switzerland. So of course we have a huge interest in addressing it. And we know that we can only address it together because it's, it doesn't know any borders. I know that there's a lot of trafficking also within Nigeria, but the reason why we originally got involved with in this cooperation on trafficking with Nigeria is of course because it's a phenomenon that really affects both our countries and our peoples. So, and we have with Nigeria, Switzerland has this migration partnership. It was established in 2011, so more than 10 years ago, and it has a lot of different aspects, but one key pillar of that migration partnership, of cooperation within that partnership, is human trafficking. So we've been engaged since the very beginning, working with NAPTIP, working with other stakeholders in Nigeria and international stakeholders, international organizations, to prevent, to fight human trafficking, and also to support victims of trafficking. So we've had many different projects with NAPTIP, and I was honored to be able to accompany them, to be a part of them. And one big one is, of course, the development of the new National Action Plan on Human Trafficking. I think it's a very, very important project, and the effect of the project goes beyond what the project itself was, because it's really a document that should have a huge impact and should lay the ground for more coordination, more cooperation between all relevant partners, both in Nigeria and also abroad, to effectively tackle the huge problem of human trafficking. So this is one, and then another one that we have the pleasure to work together with NAPTIP and IOM with is Blue Bus, the Blue Bus project. It's a massive awareness-raising campaign. It's a big bus covered in different slogans, in the NAPTIP colors, accompanied by NAPTIP staff, counsel potential victims who go to reach out to communities, to tell them about the dangers of trafficking and irregular migration in general, to tell them what they can do if they encounter such a problem, or if they get actually contacted by traffickers, if they know someone who has been contacted by traffickers, and also to reach out to NAPTIP to get help or to report cases. So it's been in Lagos, in Delta, and in Edo states, which of course are some of the most affected states by human trafficking, but we also know that trafficking has expanded a lot to other areas in Nigeria. So the work is definitely not done, but I think it was a good start.
There are various penalties for all acts of human trafficking, ranging from several months to years of imprisonment. Irregular migration is risky. Here is a word for intending migrants.
Tough migration is so complex and big, and I think sometimes we tend to just focus on the challenges that migration brings, but we should not forget that migration, first of all, is a right. It's a human right. Second of all, it's often a solution to problems that people have. So people migrate to look for better opportunities, or to as a solution for problems that they encounter in their lives. So it's very important that when people migrate, no matter where they go, if it's within the country, if they go across international borders, to make sure that they're really well prepared, that they really know the facts, that they do the research of where they're going, how are they going, is this through regular means, is this something that is legit, is the offer that they might get, be it employment or studying or whatever, is it reliable, is it something that they're absolutely sure will happen the way that it's been presented to them. I think these are the general advices that I would give to people who want to migrate.
The chairman of the NAPTIP Governing Board, Abubakar Usman Gotomo, highlights the role of the board in the fight against human trafficking.
As a board, and board, its status is advisory, guidance, and any other support you can give to the management to execute their mandate. This problem of human trafficking is pervasive in the country. We had that problem at a particular part of the country, but gradually the situation degenerated to be all-encompassing now. No part of this country are not suffering from the human trafficking. And we realized the enormous need to enlighten the Nigerian public, because the fundamental problem starts from there, because lack of awareness, poor education made it even possible for the traffickers to run their businesses hitch-free. So we emphasize on the area of enlightenment, because you see sometimes a mature person being trafficked without him knowing that he's being trafficked. Or sometimes somebody, because of poor knowledge, poor enlightenment, voluntarily allowed himself to be trafficked. It's not the end for the children or young, sometimes even adults are being trafficked. So we support the agency in that direction. And another thing is to support them in the area of funding, because these activities of NAPTIP, it requires huge funding. It looks like a small agency, but it's a very, very big organization in its operations with huge financial demands, because these are daily activities. Then most often the budgetary provision to the agency is too small. It's too small to even run the recurrent, talk less of the desired need for the capital expenditure. So as a board, we try as much as we could to penetrate here and there so that we can help attract funding to that agency. And another thing also we acknowledge is the fact that the staff need capacity building, consistent, continued capacity building, because the act of human trafficking is as dynamic as the skill of the criminal themselves who traffic in person. You block this way today, tomorrow they open another one. They block this way, tomorrow they open another one. So you have to give the staff adequate skill, continuous skill, and the professionalism they require to handle such an assignment. These are some of the areas the board has been making frantic effort to support the management.
He then commends the Director General of NAPTIP, Dr. Fatima Waziri Azi, for her dynamic leadership.
Our current director is very broad. She's already a major participant in civil society. She is an academic professor who much have not know about the human development. And now we reach the climax to having a co-professional settling as the head of that agency. Apart from the passion, the knowledge, the skill, and interest, everything is there working for her. It becomes very gratifying to the board members that yes, another Caesar has come that will definitely work with the board in good harmony, with clear understanding, with clear mission to pursue the objective of this agency, NAPTIP. The job of the board now becomes much easier because we are always thinking along, generating ideas on the same page with the management.
Finally, a word on human trafficking from the chairman of the board.
My good advice, candid advice to Nigerians is to appreciate the fact that human trafficking is more dangerous than even armed robbery. Human trafficking is destroying your humanity, endangering the younger talent that Nigeria is brewing, dwarfing our act of innovation and creativity, destroying the spirit of Nigeria to pursue hard work, and destroying the potentials that we have within the Nigerian nation. So this is a war which every Nigerian has a responsibility to participate and get himself fully involved.
A word is enough for the wise. Everyone must be vigilant to decipher the antics of human traffickers and speak out on any suspected case. NAPTIP is ever willing to swing into action to ensure a human trafficking-free nation. NAPTIP On The Move is sponsored by the International Organization for Migration, IOM.
The fight against human trafficking is a fight for everyone, the government and society. Researchers from the Center for Civilians in Conflict, led by Dr. Benson Olugbo, paid a courtesy call on Dr. Fatima Waziri Azi, the Director General of NAPTIP. Some of the issues discussed were the National Document for the Protection of Civilians, as well as other matters on the Human Rights Protection Policy and its sustainability in Nigeria. Speaking on the visit, Dr. Waziri Azi stated that the protection of civilians in the high-risk areas within the country remains the responsibility of the state, and commended the military for its effective role in securing the nation's territorial integrity. To encourage and guarantee an inclusive approach to the ongoing struggle against gender-based violence in the country, the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, has commenced work on a disability policy that will address all issues regarding disabled persons in Nigeria. The Director General of NAPTIP, Dr. Fatima Waziri Azi, recently received Helen Beyoku Alashe, the President of the Deaf Women's Association and Executive Director of the Deaf Women Aloud Initiative, and other members of the deaf community in Abuja. The Director General also assured that NAPTIP under her watch will continue to implement programs and policies that will give a voice and inclusion to all sections of the country, irrespective of status. The Executive Director of the initiative, Helen Beyoku Alashe, thanked the Director General for the warm reception and called for the inclusion of the deaf community in all initiatives of the agency, among other requests. The Federal High Court in Katsina State sentenced two convicted felons, Salmanu Sani, 41, and Mukhtari Magaji, 30, to 1 year imprisonment in a correctional facility without the option of fine for conniving and attempting to facilitate the illegal entry of two female victims from Ondo State and Ogun State into Libya en route Kano and Katsina State. Our victim story segment is next. Keep watching.
I'm 24 years old. It was February, ending of February. I'm into fashion design. So there's this colleague of mine who introduced me to one of his aunts in Ivory Coast. So she told me that the auntie owns a big supermarket shop in Ivory Coast. Whether I'm interested, then I told her yes, I'm interested. Then she said okay, that she will make inquiries for me. Then I said thank you. So that was when I left, ending of February. Immediately I left, ending of February. Then I went to Ivory Coast. I never knew that my colleague sold me to a lady, and that was how the lady now sold me to another person in Ivory Coast. So when I got there, I found that it was prostitution, and I refused. I told them I can't work because I've never done it before. That was how they started torturing me. They started beating me. I started vomiting blood. It was not once, it was not 2 times, but I still stood on my ground that I won't do it. So they called my parents, and I escaped because she seized my phone. So I escaped. I went to meet a man. Then the man gave me a phone, which I called my parents, and I explained to my parents that I should go and catch my colleagues, that she's the one that introduced me to the work. I never knew it was prostitution. So that was when my parents went to the girl's place and they arrested her. And after they arrested her, my mom called my madam, and my madam told my mom that since I said I'm not going to work, that I should pay 300,000 for my release. And my parents told them that they don't have that kind of money to release me. So it was the help of NAPTIP and some village people. That was how they rescued me from their hand. Though it wasn't easy, it was God. because it was an herbalist man that saved me from the first place. But after the herbalist man saved me, that was how the NAPTIP people and the rescue team came to rescue me. So I just want to use this privilege to thank the NAPTIP people for everything that they have done for me. And I want to also encourage other girls outside that even if anybody tell them to go to somewhere, they should please investigate, because it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy for me. In fact, I have a lot of injury all over my body due to the result of the beating and everything. But I just want to give God the glory because I'm alive today.
For more inquiries and support, or to report cases of suspected human trafficking, violence against persons and child abuse, please call NAPTIP hotline 0703 0000203 or the short code 627, or email us info@naptip.gov.ng. Visit our website www.naptip.gov.ng. Follow us on our social media platforms at NAPTIP Nigeria, or watch our videos on YouTube.
It's time to say goodbye, but I must thank you for watching and urge you to keep a date with us next week. I'm Angela at Begi. See you again soon.